We could look at AtlasOS. You guys want to take a look at AtlasOS? Let's just make a marker for this. AtlasOS. Let's go. Let's see what we got. It's time. A lot of people have asked about AtlasOS. I keep getting the question. Let's take a peek. We redesign Windows for gamers, plus 1000 FPS. All right, let's get started. What do we got? It's only Windows 10 right now. So they have an AME wizard. It's a zip file. Let's see what this is. Big exe file. That's a big nope for me. All right, we got a playbook. Is this gonna be? All right, here we go. So disable driver installation in Windows Update, Registry, and the playbook. What is this playbook doing? Let's extract this. Looks like Ansible. Oh, you know, I haven't really used Ansible very much though. Preparation install. Let's see what all it's doing. You know, I can't say I've used Ansible inside of Windows. I haven't used it very much at all, to be honest with you. All right, Ansible. Playbook, Windows. Yeah, I just want to look at the script. Playbooks are like automated scripts to do a whole bunch of stuff on setting things up. So it's what it looks like to me. I don't know for a fact, but I remember seeing this extension and saying that's Ansible, APBX, Ansible Playbook. I would say based on that extension, but again, I don't know. Let's just see what we have for chocolatey. We could probably do like a Cocoa install Ansible, probably. And I want to say Ansible's a readable. I bet you they did it in YAML. Yeah, Red Hat really loves YAML. They're keeping it alive. Let's pull that up in VS Code, probably. Do we have code on here? I swear we did. Just kidding. We're not doing that. Let's go Windows Terminal from here. Let's just take a look. Let's just Vim that guy. Oh, that is definitely not YAML. All right. That is just a bunch of nonsense. So, what is that? Let's see. How do you install it? Bintoy Rufus. Open with 7-zip as it was a compressed file. Sometimes it shows internal files. Is that right? This, I think we extracted that. So yeah, we extracted the 22H2. Yeah, so this playbook's what we grabbed, but let's see what we have. I'm sure it wants you to run that exe for most things, but I am not about to do that. If we did that, we definitely would need to run it in a VM. So, okay. I don't know. Don't know about that. Let's see. Get started. Atlas Playbook. What is that? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Why can't I open up this playbook? Please don't be my roommate. You'll run it. I'm not running it in my main system. This says download an ISO, which we all know how I feel. Oh, no, this is fine. This is just downloading directly from the media creation tool. So that's good. It's not telling you to download some wacky ISO. It's just telling you to run an executable file, which, it's a different take. You got to have this to open up the playbook by their guide, the millerated.io. Really? Are they not using Ansible? Oh, geez. I spelled that wrong. Okay. Oh, so this is just Windows AME rebranded to Atlas then. Now, I thought Atlas was completely open source. Am I wrong here? Yeah, here's the source code. Okay. So, we're doing... It looks like C#. Is it? That looks like C#. We've been doing C#. Aha! Interesting. So everything's running through executable files, and we're gonna have to dig through this project. Oh, hell. Let's do it. Let's get it. Let's get it. I ain't got nothing but time, and I don't have anything else planned. Let's do some AtlasOS dive. Let's clone it and open up this SLN file. Right? All right, Atlas, what you got? Oh, what was, let me see, did I miss something there? You gotta have, oh, yeah, I saw that. We opened up that site. The thing is, I don't want to just run random executables just saying, hey, this is open source. Here's the source code. And then just running the executable. That's like super dumb. I love to do dumb things on stream. But yeah. Oh, you can unzip the thing using their executable. But you have to run the thing first, right? You have to run this. Which, what the hell's all this doing is kind of what I want to know. Right? Am I completely off basis here, chat? Let's see. I'm okay with that, Peter. It disabling Spectre and Meltdown. I mean, it's not the worst thing. Yes, it does like make you a little less secure, but you're using Windows. In playing games, you do get a good performance uptick. Not nearly as much as it used to be, but like if you have a, what was it, 5th or 6th gen like i9, the performance difference between Mel 3 and Spectre on mitigations is like 30%. It's insane. So, but I mean, modern chips probably more like 5%, I would imagine, from disabling those mitigations. I wouldn't call it a huge problem. But I wouldn't call it, it wouldn't be something I would do in business or anything like that. But if for a gaming rig, I probably would disable Spectre and Meltdown mitigations. I'm okay with that change. Meltdown's very easy to abuse. Not really. Like, it's still relying on the user to run an executable. It just, yeah, Meltdown is more about isolating running processes so one can't snoop on the other, and most of it is theory. I haven't seen too many CVEs specifically finding like viruses out in the wild exploiting these things. So a lot of like armchair YouTubers and those types of things that don't really do security, you know, yes, they're gonna overly complain and kind of hype it up for like views, but really, I wouldn't be overly concerned about Meltdown or Spectre mitigations being off, especially for a residential user mainly using it for gaming and stuff like that. You know, that's just my thoughts. I'm not saying you're more secure or just as secure. You're definitely less secure by having those disabled, but at the end of the day, if you're dumb and running a whole bunch of stuff on the internet, well, you know, that's on you. All right, what do these classes look like? What are we looking at first? So this is core functionality used by the AME wizard. This is for the playbook, but what is the playbook doing? Oh, you can? Just open it up in 7-zip? Okay, let's see. I got you, Ninja. Oh, I got you. Thank you for specifying. Playbook. Enter password. Huh? Wrong password. Why is that password locked? Oh. Probably to bypass antivirus, which I've done that personally myself. Put a password on like a zip file. All right, so let's look at our comp file. Oh, what do we have here? All right. CD. Let's first look at the playbook.comp file. All right. Deploy 22H2 Windows 10. All right. Yeah, sure. Linux. All right. That's fine. What else we have in this? Is there anything? No. Let's go ls configuration. Then, oh, there's the YAML files. It's like, man, I don't remember YAML when I was messing around with it. So we're doing start services, AppX, components, packages, and config. Okay. Let's do YAML ls language server. All right, that's fine. So this was the custom one. Let's look at what AppX ones are doing first. Comments are for packages added back that do not get in the way of users at all, or only dependencies or hidden applications. So everything here is commented out, not doing anything. And then it starts with stripping out Cortana, mixed reality. Let's see. What do we got here? Let me catch up with chat here. I was just trying to get in here just to look at the playbook that we're going to be running. Spectre. Let's see. There's a lot of fake results in engines these days. I agree with that. There's just a lot of junk. Like Googling stuff is just no good. Oh no. Well, I'm scared to click on this. Oh, domain for sale. I had someone grab, I think, there was some other one. When I first started out, I was like, I'm not paying you ransom people. Ask Chat GPT. Yeah. The big thing here is just wanting to look at the actual what it's uninstalling. So far, let's see if there's anything in here that you might need. Content Delivery Manager, probably not. It could be dependent on some packages coming in. Sec Health UI is just complete garbage. OOBE is out-of-box experience. Probably not needed for most people. App Rep, communications apps, not really needed. Security assessment browser, advertising, Bing weather, Edge. Yeah, so Edge is going to be gone from Atlas altogether, which, you know, I'm not a big fan of Edge. Paint, OneNote. A lot of people freak out about the OneNote, but I'm okay with that being removed just because even if you have a license, you're typically installing a different version anyways. Skype. Ugh, people still use Skype. Wallet, parental controls, photos, alarm. All this looks fine. I did have one person mention maps, but Your Phone's also probably one that they're going to run into a lot because people do like that application. I mean, I personally wouldn't recommend it, but it does work and it is clean. I see why people like it. And then nothing. That's actually not too bad for the deep load section. Let's go move on to components and see what else it's grabbing. All right, Windows Defender, it is killing off, it looks like. Which, again, no love here for Windows Defender or Edge. So it kills the task, and it looks like it removes the services for Edge and Defender. Zune, yeah. I think it's rebranded Music or Groove Music, and it's still using like the Zune backend, so it's a little bit misleading. As far as our registry keys, I do a lot of these in my deep load. Most of this looks tied to Edge. So lots and lots of strip out and deep load of Edge. And Internet Explorer still has some reminiscences in Windows 10. I don't think Windows 11 has it. WebView is also a dependent for a lot of web browsing stuff that Microsoft uses. Taskband, favorites, and it's kind of old. I think that was removed altogether in Windows 11 anyways. Edge, more Edge. OneDrive. Let's see. I don't notice anything in here. This must be mostly OneDrive stuff. Moving down, still OneDrive. And then we got update health tools. This is the most maddening thing. Like, you can, these health tools, they never really remove them. And they run all the time in the background, which is terrible. Again, I'm totally okay with this removal. I don't see anything too bad from this section. And then at the end, we have convert users.cmd. So we've gone through Apex components, which basically look like just built-in stock ones like Defender and Edge. So earlier, I think Peter mentioned like Spectre and Meltdown being removed. Removing Defender, and that's a pretty big security flaw. Like on a scale of 10, like removing Spectre and Meltdown, I'd probably give like a 2. Removing Defender is something I personally like to do, but I know it's a egregious security violation. So I'd give that like a 9 out of 10. So unless you install like another antivirus to replace Defender, you do probably need something if you're the type to download executable files from the internet. However, if you're just using it for gaming, you might be able to get away with it. But if you're browsing the web and you're a novice user or a beginning user, you absolutely need an antivirus. So, yeah. If you want a safe system, obviously don't run this. But let's keep going. I don't see anything necessarily bad here. It's mostly just a pretty pretty heavy-handed debloat that will definitely cause some performance increases, because Defender is not light. I will say that. So again, these are things I've actually done, and nothing too bad here that I'm like, okay. So this is just rebranding some of like the WinVer probably to say AtlasOS. Kind of pointless, but it looks cool. Changing to NTP servers from Windows servers. This is a beautiful tweak. I love this tweak just because Windows.time goes down all the time. It just does. Like, I don't know what's wrong with Microsoft, but they're like incapable of running a competent time server. So inevitably when you go to like update Windows time, it always fails. So this is a command I probably would recommend everyone to run and get this going. We could actually do it right now just to show you, because I do like this tweak. I'm gonna steal this tweak actually. It's a really good tweak. Let's go W32. What is it? TM. Let's see. Yeah, TM, and then I think we can just type that in. Does that work? Oh, access denied. We do need to run as admin. So let's grab this. Grab it. Bam. So what we're doing is changing stuff from Windows Time Server to ntp.org, which these are pools. So this is literally tens, if not hundreds of servers in 4 different dynamic pools. You're going to want to do that. I love that tweak. That's cool. All right, moving on. Why can $100 billion, actually it's $1 trillion company, Peter, let me correct you, it's $1 trillion company now, create a solution with proper timekeeping over the span of decades? I don't know. Gross incompetence? It's impressive that they've managed to have such a terrible time server forever. I don't know. That's crazy. Time.nist.gov is also a good one. I agree with that, Galaga. It's pretty funny, though. I love that. All right. Moving on. Optimize NTFS parameters. Use an fstil behavior set in last access. Disable last access information of directories for performance and privacy. I don't necessarily like that tweak, as one, I don't think you're gaining much from doing it, and knowing what accessed what last is a good thing. If someone has access to your system and they're checking to see, you kind of want to know. And if it shows that it's you, you'd be like, wait a second, I didn't make that change. Is there something run away on my system? I don't agree with this tweak. I have problems with this. That's not good. Disabling last access, I don't think anybody would say that's a performance or privacy error, because it's just going to show, hey, is this the system? Is it the one user that's probably signed into your PC? Is it another user altogether, like remote registry or something like that, that might be being utilized? I just don't get this tweak. So I disagree with that one. Disabling creation of 8.3 character length files. Yeah, I'm okay with this one. 8.3 it's a character 8. I think it's old reminiscence of fat. You rarely run into it these days. It's fine. Disable notifications, also known as that. I hate notifications. That's fine. Scheduled tasks. Let's see what they're doing for scheduled tasks. Yeah. So for the scheduled task here, we got device directory client. I don't think I've ever removed that one. Maps, of course. Speech, yes, please. Remove. Orchestrator, yes. Defender, update. It looks like they're actually commented update out, so maybe they aren't removing update altogether. That'll undo much of what we've already gone over if it updates to a feature update. So it's okay. I mean, like I said, there's nothing like glaring red flags here yet. Going through your scheduled tasks. I just did this on stream for my one-shot tool I was working on. Let's see if there's anything. Defrag. I kind of like the Windows defragger. It's actually gotten a lot smarter. I used to talk crap about it because it used to just kind of suck. But if you actually look at, like, because this is an NVMe drive, if you look at the defragging, it knows what, hey, this is, let's just change settings actually. Yeah, okay, choose, sure. Okay. Does this actually change anything? Can this run or analyze? Nope. I wonder why it's all grayed out. Huh, interesting. Defragger. Maybe it needs to be run as admin. No, still doesn't. Interesting. Oh, but anyways, I digress. Yeah, defragger's kind of interesting. It does some trim for SSD drives and NVMe, and it does a decent job if you have some old spinning platters. I'd still recommend defragging every once in a while. There's better tools out there probably, but the Windows defragger tool's good enough, in my opinion. Yes, NTFS does need defragging for sure. And it's not something you want to disable, so I'm kind of okay with the scheduled defrag. I probably would leave this just for quality of life for users. I think the rebuttal to this, if I was an Atlas dev, I would say you're going to have to reinstall Windows in 6 months to a year anyways, so who cares? Defrag it then. Which I would say that's the strongest rebuttal for removing defrag, or use another tool. I haven't seen any other tools that I'm really keen on. I used to use another tool with, God, what was it? Oh, I want to say it was who used CCleaner actually. CCleaner, they actually had defrag. I bet you it's still there. Defragler. I remember using Defragler back in the day. I don't know if this is any good anymore, but I remember in the days everyone had hard disks. So probably 10 years ago, I remember using Defragler, but I don't even know. These days, I'd say just leave it on the Windows stock defaults. It's not really worth going and grabbing another tool, in my opinion. About to defrag your. Most drives won't even allow you to do it these days. Remember when they used to, and they would like completely like kill an SSD? These days, all the defrag stuff is done automatically. Like the Microsoft defrag will just trim an SSD or an NVMe. You can't force it to defrag to kill the drive anymore. I think when it first kind of that whole switch started happening, SSDs were literally dying from defrag, but that's so long ago. This is like a decade we're talking, so it's a smart defrag now. Defragler, now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. It's great. It's great. But yeah, needless to say, I think we can leave that alone. I probably would kill that. Anyways, moving on. Disk cleanup. I'm fine with silent disk cleanup. Disk cleanup's a decent tool. I like actually running it. So if you want to disk cleanup, just run it. It does a good job. I usually just say clean up system files, and then from system files you would grab whatever it was you wanted to get. So you got Defender here. You have optimization files. We could get rid of those. We have a good recycle bin. We have almost 10 gigs in there, blah, blah, blah. So there's 10 gigs. It'd be nice to just kind of let it do its thing. Usually I run disk cleanup manually, but for most users, I would actually recommend leaving silent disk cleanup going. Yeah, you go ahead and share the GitHub repo GPS. I removed the link thing, and with enough mods, we have several mods in chat, and I've gotten better with working Twitch chat that we don't really have to worry about someone spamming a bunch of links. Oh, really? Yeah. I'm pretty sure I removed the link blocker. Maybe. If not, you might just get banned for a little bit, but that's okay. I'm watching chat. I think you're safe. Probably. Like, I'm at least 67% sure you're okay. There we go. Okay. Sweet. Yeah, more often than not, a lot of people do share some good links. What do you got here? OVA, what is that? OTP Vault, what do you got? CLI tool that lets you manage your TOPTPs. Oh, your two-factor, okay. Currently tested with Bitwarden and Facebook. All right. That's interesting. I kind of like it. I don't know about, well, what's it written in? It looks like Cargo's the install. Nice. Rust. Very cool, man. I like it. I like seeing new tools. Oh, no. Odor, don't you be linking me stuff on stream. It sounds like a risky click. I knew better. I knew better. As soon as you did it, I just knew. I was like, oh my God. Of course. I was like, I already knew it was going to happen, but I clicked it anyways. Yeah, I do need to increase that, Peter, for sure. I was like, well done, sir. Well done. Oh, all right. Back to Atlas review. Let's see. Anything else in here? Most of this I'm okay with. Like I said, most of Atlas looks pretty good. There's just a couple things in here I know is gonna jack with people. Probably like the hello checks and stuff are gonna mess with some of the pin sign-on and some programs that rely on that. The rest of this error reporting. Oh my God, I hate error reporting. I always remove that in my scripts too. Xbox game saves. So if you use store with Xbox, it's gonna be problematic for you with Atlas. Let's see here. Just delete the default user 0 account used during. Yeah, that's a smart. This is a good security play. Disable reserve storage. Again, that's a good performance. Oh, let's see. Manually rebuild performance counters. That's fine. Disable PowerShell telemetry. I don't really care too much about that. I probably need to look at this, as that's something I probably should do in my own debloat. I do like the PowerShell telemetry getting off. Set execution policy done as restricted. I get why this is done. We'll see if later in the script maybe they set it back to restricted. I wouldn't leave your execution policy set to unrestricted again for security concerns. But I've done it for my own script just to be pounded around, and I didn't want to be constantly notified or have to run it and bypass that. Oh, man. And you know what I'm going to do? Let's just take this, and I'm going to grab Chat Arena so that I can stay up to date with chat while I go through this. Let's just take that over a bit. Yes. Right there. That seems like the perfect split. So disable bandwidth throttling. That's actually a pretty good idea. You'll notice a lot of SMB performance is based on some of this compression and throttling that does happen. It says that it's a SMB ghost vulnerability workaround why that compression happens, but it's kind of interesting. I'm curious to see the performance difference on the compression. I don't think I've done that tweak before. Throttling though, I do as well in my tool or utility. Block anonymous enumeration of SAM accounts. That's actually probably a good idea. Although, if you're not familiar with SAM, it's like a database that Windows keeps local users. It's really easy to exploit. Like, ridiculously easy to hack. There's so many tools. You can use like a 20-year-old tool to just change passwords in Windows. One of the biggest things I always did was just use the tool, enable the default administrator that's just on every single install, which if you want to see that, I think user passwords 2 should have it. And I think, oh, does this one not? Let's see. Let's go advanced user management. Yeah. So usually what I would do with SAM, this is the back end of Windows, it's a lusrmgr is the tool. I think that's a CPL. So lusrmgr.cpl. Maybe. No, it's not CPL. Maybe it's MSC. Yeah, it's MSC. So that's this tool. So you could type lusrmgr.msc, come into here, and what you can do with a lot of like the SAM hacks on Windows is just enable the default admin account outside of Windows and then just sign in. Set the password to nothing, and then you log into local admin, and then you're good to go. So trying to secure a local Windows instance is like damn near impossible if the person knows what they're doing. It's kind of a funny hack. Do you feel like a caveman when you have to change the window sizes with the mouse instead of just having your hotkey like a proper window manager? Yes. Yes, I do. Atlas does do a lot, I will say. A lot of it's good. There's a couple things in here that's going to screw over some folks, though. Not in a really bad way, per se. Just, it's going to make some software unhappy, to say the least. I've done this right here, the SVC host split, so you don't get like a gajillion different SC hosts in your... It kind of cuts down on processes, which is nice. Unnecessary auto loggers. Yeah. Most of that is junk. Some of it, like spooler logging, you might need for printing. Wi-Fi session. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. NetSH. What are we doing here? No, I like all that, actually. There's nothing really that bad. Yeah, MMC is used from, typically you'd load those up through, God, I'm drawing a blank, the component tools in Windows. God, what is it called? I think it's just MMC, actually, right? Yeah. Yeah. So you just load these component tools, and then you just go, I was like, wait, it is MMC. And then you can just add your snaps. So if you're going to grab multiple things, like let's say you want to load disk management and device manager, event viewer, if you're checking stuff, yes. And usually users, ooh, services, NFS. And ooh, what's Defender, is that the firewall? Yeah. That's funny. But you could launch these independently too from there. But that's MMC. You load this and kind of set up your own console root. I never really liked that. I always just like going, okay, I need to go Windows to Windows Firewall. WFMSC. Bam. I don't know. So I was never a big fan of the MMC database. Or it also was really slow because it would have to load up all the modules before it would show it. So I always found just typing it into run was a little bit faster. QoS. I don't even think that's used really. NDIS. Oh man, this kind of reminds me. This is the saddest thing. So in I think it was 1507, the very first iterations of Windows 10, there used to be NIC teaming. It's still in Windows Server, but they removed NIC teaming where you could actually combine network cards and bridge them together to use two different network cards, which is kind of cool. You can still do this in Linux, of course, but oh man, I missed that. I was like, that'd be so cool. Mitigations prompt. This is the disabling of mitigations, which we already talked about. Firewall rules. What are we doing here? Doesn't look like we have anything added, which is fine. Crash control, probably more telemetry drunk. Start menu, that's fine. It does disable notification center. What's up there, root? Yeah, you can actually still see the command in PowerShell, I think. Nick. Maybe not. Dang. Let's see. It was PowerShell Nick teaming. Yeah, this is old. This is 2013. But yeah, you could used to be able to do get adapter, and then it would say set team adapter, and you could bind them together, and it was pretty cool. I want to say it was this one right here. Let's see. Yeah, you could team things together with new net LBFO team. It's cool. Cool little thing that I think Microsoft got rid of in the regular Windows. It's still there for server, so you can see the remnants in like server 2016, 2019. But the first iteration of Windows 10 also had this, but they obviously added this little interface. And does it show Nick teaming? Yeah, right here. This is how you would do it. It's just kind of a bummer thing. I can't believe they took that out. Which I think if we do, yeah, no, I won't do it. But sorry, it just made me think of that. I was just like, oh, I remember that. Oh, sad face. It was actually a decent thing. Oh yeah. Sorry right now, Harry. The songs are broken for reporting. Fun fact, Microsoft could boot your PC to update your BIOS. Yeah, it depends on the motherboard, but this is true. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. It just depends on your thoughts on that. Me personally, I would much rather just get a BIOS file, load it up old school, and then do it from BIOS. Updating your BIOS from an operating system just sounds like a complete disaster, but I'm also kind of old, and back in the day, if you messed up a BIOS flash, it was like game over. Go buy a new motherboard because you're screwed. So, all right, we got start menu settings, nothing bad. Oof, man, this is a long file. We're only 19% of the way through it. What? That's insane. A benefit of teaming network cards. So if you have a lot of throughput, and let's say you have multiple things connecting, it'd be nice to throw some traffic through one card, one traffic through another card, and you won't have a bottleneck. So that's good, and it will also increase speeds. And you're going to be able to do a little bit more with teaming if that system. But if it's not going to like double your speed or anything like that. It's just meant for multiple connections happening, which can be nice if you have a bunch of like, you know, probably 10 computers connecting to one system and you're sharing a lot of files through that system. Doing NIC teaming is actually really nice. It does increase performance by a good bit on your network through that Windows server. Yeah, don't update BIOS from OS. Oh, tell you. But most people have dual BIOS, and if one fails, it'll just fall back to the other one. I don't think any modern motherboard doesn't have that feature anymore. Decrease shutdown time. These are really bad tweaks right here. So a lot of times these things can lead to... I had this happen with my toolbox where I think it was clearing the page setting, and that was problems. Let's see if it's messing with page anywhere. Let's get out of visual mode. Do they have page file? Curious. Insider page, start page. Disable local page. Oh, maybe not. Page file. Page file. Yeah, it doesn't look like they're doing that one tweak. I had a bad tweak I did on my toolbox about a year or two back, and I had to revert it. But it was a clearing the local page file before shutdown, and it was just causing all kinds of hell. But I don't see it here, so it's fine. Let's go up. I think we're about right in here. So, decrease in shutdown time. I guess that would be okay. I was just looking at that, but I didn't see the bad entry that it doesn't look like they did. I did notice this one can be problematic sometimes. So if anybody's using AtlasOS, hung app timeout sometimes can cause flickering in screen. So I remember I was playing Path of Exile, and I had this registry entry in because I was like, I'm going to make my my shutdown timer less. And then for some weird reason, this hung app timeout, I guess maybe during the load screens or whatnot, was causing all kinds of flickering and just nastiness and just certain games. So this is one value I wouldn't touch because it's not really affecting much. Just who sits there and waits for the computer to shut down? You know, you might affect some other things. So that one I'm not too keen on. I've had problems with it. I've reverted it in my toolbox. I'll probably actually do a check for some of these things. I'm kind of the problems I see with Atlas, and make my tool like revert those changes. So you could probably use it to fix an AtlasOS for something you're having a problem with. But it's kind of a fun tweak, just with some unintentional side effects. Hung app timeout. So I wouldn't mess with that. I would probably just leave that at stock settings. That's all fine. Fine. Yeah. Oh, drink water. Thank you, drummer. Sometimes I forget. Yeah, and there's another thing. Oh, excuse me. One other thing I noticed too, like sometimes services in Windows, like when you pull up this right here, this is also a weird thing. So a lot of people are like, I don't want the firewall. They'll come in here, they'll force disable Windows Defender firewall. I know, because I did this. Because I was like, I don't want firewall. And then all of the Microsoft Office suite just started going bonkers. Like, you just run into all kinds of funky issues by just disabling firewall, which is a weird side effect. Now, I'd love to disable that service, but you would be shocked. Let's see if it even shows what dependencies. The following service is dependent on... Let's see, the Xbox Live networking service relies on firewall and some Office stuff. I obviously don't have Office installed here, but it didn't even show it there. So if you ever like want to get rid of Firewall, just pull up WF, go inbound rules. You'll see right here, it's blocking inbound matches. So let's say you just like, I just want to let everything in. You can just do a custom rule. Just go all programs, all ports, all IPs, allow all connections, and then just say allow all. I shouldn't show people this, but this will bypass all of the firewall settings in Windows. So if you ever have problems with Windows Firewall, don't delete it, don't disable it, just throw that tool or that rule in there, and it's not going to do anything. It's just going to be like, yes, I accept any traffic. So it's a quick little bypass for those that want to bypass Firewall. Well, let's see here. Disable animate windows when minimizing. I'm okay with that. Man, so much, so many tweaks. I mean, it feels like they're just touching almost every single entry here. This is interesting. Users cannot add Microsoft accounts. 1. That's going to cause a lot of issues with like OneDrive users. So Atlas wouldn't be good for any kind of Microsoft user or Office, Xbox, and OneDrive. Once you get rid of Microsoft accounts, it's like, ugh, you're really limiting your interactions with Microsoft, which is fine. Like, you know me, I'm all about that. But it definitely probably needs to be advertised. So if I do a video on Atlas, I definitely would mention that aspect. Disabling fast user switching. I hate fast user switching. I really wish it was never invented. It causes so many performance issues in shared PCs, especially in business. Most people won't even notice this, but I appreciate that tweak. I hate fast user switching. It's just been awful ever since it was invented. I think it was in late XP or maybe it was Vista. I can't remember, but ever since then, it's always been a problem with any shared terminal. Windows Insider preview builds. Yeah. Maybe Lux. I kind of do my own config, man. A lot of times, I don't know if I use this specific. I mean, it's not a bad guide, but I think I could just do a better job by putting it all in like a C# file, or just doing it all through PowerShell, like I've been doing through the utility. But I'm just kind of trying to go through and critique. All this is fine, by the way. It's just trying to say these are the side effects from these tweaks. I don't see anything bad that I'm like, oh my god, they're installing malware from this thing. No, I don't see anything like that. It's just little gotchas in some of these tweaks, and you just wouldn't know it until you actually do these tweaks and like mess around on it for like months, which I've done a lot. So overall, though, I think this is really good for a deep loaded start. I just think a lot of gamers and people that use Microsoft products will not have a good time. I think a lot of it will be more problematic than actually using it. But it just depends on your use case. It is a very deep loaded version, so it could be good for some users out there. So far, at least. I haven't seen anything too bad. But man, that is just, it's a lot. It's a lot of tweaks. Disabling Ink Workstation and suggested applications. It's actually a good thing. Disable arrow shake. Is that still in here? Oh, maybe. There used to be a shake. I remember you could just take something, shake it, and it would resize. I might have actually done that tweak already. Some of it's a little weird. kind of like seeing the thumbnails instead of icons. I hate this. There's 3 different... I made a video about thumbnails in Windows. So there's so many different places that this gets changed. A lot of people want freaking previews on their stuff. So when you're pulling up, let's see, I got like video production. We could do headshots. So a lot of people, when you got this going, you kind of want the thumbnails. You don't want just all icons. Like, I feel like most users, probably 90+%, want to see the picture in the thumbnail and then quickly adjust and be like, that's the picture right there. Let me grab that. And then move on. So this tweak, again, it's just like little stuff like that. When you get something that touches and modifies everything, you're going to run into stuff. So disabling thumbnails and showing icons instead, it's just not a good move for most users. Yeah, I mean, it's all this little stuff. And when you touch all this, I've done it. I've done this big deep load. It's just, it always ends in the same way. People complaining. So the trick is there's a good in between a big debloat like this and a sensible debloat that doesn't limit your user or piss your user off. Just one of them things. No. So like if you do it through registry, that's exactly the wrong assumption that I actually had in the past, Lux. Yeah, it's an all or nothing kind of thing. So let's go. I did an article about it actually. So if you're interested, if you ever have this happen, I made an article just because I was like, oh, I got to write all this down because Windows. How do you configure thumbnails? The thumbnails. It's really just going through and looking. You can do it in folder options. You could do it in system performance right here. That's under sysdm.cpl. You can do it in group policy right here and here. So you have multiple places in group policy to do it. Or you could do it how they're doing it in registry. Now, they're actually picking a different registry key. This is actually disabling thumbnail cache. They are actually using a different key right here, or it was up here. But any one of these, here's the kicker. Any one of these, whether it's changed in the registry, right here, any one of them is turned on, you will only see icons. And the weird thing is they phrased it different in all locations. So this one's always show icon, never thumbnails. So you're only going to see icons. That's probably the registry key they were touching on, was this folder option. But here's another one. Show thumbnails instead of icons, and it's ticked. So if you untick it, you will never see thumbnails. You will only see icons. It's the inverse of what was just explained. And then you have the exact same thing in group policy right here. So it's just maddening. But it's little stuff like that that if you're looking on it, it doesn't make much sense until you actually go and do it. Yeah, I think the difference in phrasing, different teams worked on it, probably different buildings, probably the old guy died or retired, and then you got the new guy, new blood came in and was like, oh, I don't see this setting, I'm just going to create it. And it all just ties back. So it's just little tweaks like that. And it's not to say my tool's perfect. I just noticed these things over the years and I'm like, oh yeah, there's that. And then there's that. And then there's that. There's just, it's always something with Windows, man. Just going through them. It's just an endless web of just garbage that does like 5 settings will do the exact same thing. But it can be maddening when you try and figure it out. I remember one bug, I was at a business and they had an app that would just sit here and just freak out and flash for a little bit. And it ended up being some kind of compositing setting or something in Windows. but it was a bug that was there for over a decade before I looked at it. And I fixed it. It took me a little bit. It took me like 4 hours to really track it down and get it. But I remember the person was like, dude, I've been working here for literally 10 years and this has always done this. Thank you so much for fixing it. And it's just because it was some weird registry setting in Windows. And sometimes tracking that down can be ridiculous. Yeah, I do like pain, that's for sure. Mouse wheel and mouse hover time. This is something that I used to change pretty low, much like these settings right here. A lot of people do not like these settings. I personally like the reduced mouse hover time and having it lower, but I find a lot of people do not. So I actually got a lot of requests on my toolbox to revert this setting, which I have. So they'll probably get some complaints about that. The hover time. Ease of access is garbage. That should be ripped out. Accessibility, same thing. Not a big fan. Sticky keys, toggle keys, all that. Do I still have that on? Let's see. Nope. I think I removed sticky keys. I don't see it on mine. All right. Good to know. What is that? Let's see. Tablet garbage. I mean, some people use Windows on a tablet. They probably exist in the world. I just never met a person. Just met people who are like, can you just give me an iPad? That's typically how that works when it comes to tablets. They tried. I think they did a better job with Windows 10. And I think Windows 11 actually, they did some tablet optimizations, or they tried to. They even marketed it, and I think they actually did a worse job than Windows 10 from some feedback I've heard. I don't know. I never try to use Windows in a tablet. That just sounds awful. More of that. Publish user activities. That's something that I usually do in every tweak as well. Feedback, also something. I don't know why. Do every time. Settings sync. This is actually syncing your Microsoft account settings. So it'll actually sync like wallpaper and stuff like that too. Oh yeah, I've seen that too. The flippable laptops and people using that. I think it's more gimmicky than actually useful though. I think some people do use it though. I have seen folks that probably a good example of that. No, even I was about to say some restaurants, but no, usually they do a full-blown tablet at that type of setting. Does anybody use Task View? I know Meet Now they don't use. That's a Teams thing. Task View I don't really find beneficial. Obviously I've stripped mine out, but kind of interesting. Shared experiences. Man, they do a lot. Disable virtualization-based security. I think there's more Windows 11. Maybe 22H2 added this as well, but I don't know. I go back and forth with virtualization-based security. I've never really had it cause much of a problem, but I've never really seen it cause much performance issues either. I've heard people say 5 to 10% in some VMs as far as using virtualization-based security or VBS, but I've never really seen it in actual practice. So I typically don't even mess with it these days. Disabling game bar and that type of thing, we've already kind of gone over. That Xbox is going to completely break with Atlas. To be expected. I mean, got to be able to sign into Microsoft to use Xbox. So all that makes sense, and it looks like we're getting to quick actions. I don't know. Do I even have that on mine? Oh, no, I do. I still have my notification and some quick actions. Yeah, I think some people were, I think a while. It's weird. There's these things that pop up and people just make like YouTube videos about them or whatever it might be. And then you find out that it was just some guy rumored that, hey, this is going to give some kind of performance boost. So then everyone takes that rumor and goes, hey, this is gospel. And then they just spout it to everybody. So everybody makes this tweak, but the tweak really doesn't do anything. It's all like the placebo effect. And that's a real thing. You'd be shocked at some of the stuff I see people still recommend. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that hadn't been a thing for like over a decade, bro. Yeah, as far as the touchscreens on laptops, I have seen people like as you're browsing through, I have seen them like see something on the screen instead of using a mouse or the touchpad, they'll just hit it on the screen. I think that's like the most practical use case of a touchscreen. I've done it that way too, not very often. I'm still kind of more into the even trackpads. I'm fine with. All right, file associations. This is just changing that. Game bar, more game bar stuff. Crazy people who touch a non-touch screen because they were programmed by using phones. Ugh, that hurts my heart a little bit. Ugh. Yeah, I was watching. I dropped off my kids at school, and I just looked on my way back home. I was like, oh my god. You just saw kids just sitting there staring as they're walking down the sidewalk at their phones, and I was just like, God bless. Zombies. That's the only thing I could think that popped in my head. I'm like, oh, goodness. My kids always laugh at me because I go full boomer mode, and I'm just like, get that devil box out of here. I really hate cell phones. Oh man, with a dire passion. Most of this is just shortcut and extensions, context menus. So none of these really matter, so to speak. This just adds the install cab to the context menu. Manage. A lot of these are good tweaks, just performance, quality of life. Like I have the same thing where you get a lot of extra stuff for like taking ownership and, you know, just basic quality of life. So these are good things. All right, that's it for the registry, and now we're moving on. All right, BCD edit. And this is actually changing it from the bootloader. It looks like it's almost like a kernel modification from Grub in Linux. So very much kind of like the same thing. Anytime you see like BCD edit, that's usually the boot control database, I want to say. Yeah, AtlasOS, it's not necessarily bloated. It's just changing a lot of stuff. And some of this stuff is going to probably cause some issues with programs and games and stuff. But that was it for the config. That was a long config. As far as packages go, this should be pretty, yeah. We'll fly through this. Parental control, smart screen, all joy. These are all commented out. Do we have anything that's not commented out? That's interesting. Okay. So at the bottom here, remove useless files and folders. Then removing feedback. Malicious removal tool, I think, is MRT. Device census, of course, junk. Telemetry runner and diagnostic tracker. Most of that's junk. MRT is actually pretty good. As much as I bag on Defender, malicious removal tool has been it's been a staple of Windows since, I want to say, Windows 7-ish, maybe even earlier. And it's actually the one thing that hasn't really caused much problems for me. So I don't mind MRT. So that's packages, services. What are they doing? This is interesting. I'm not going to waste too much time because we did it all on the one-shot tool. This actually looks a little bit light on the service configuration. If you're interested in service configuration, I'm actually redoing my one-shot tool to kind of mirror. Oh, geez. Where do we grab those services from? Answer file services. What was that? Windows answer file. Here we go. Was it? Yeah. This is it. WindowsAFG.com. Someone from chat recommended this, and I looked through it, and I freaking love this. As you just kind of pick what you have. So we have. Okay, let's go. This is answer file, but services. 10 and 11. Yes. So it goes through and says, here's kind of what the best optimized version of Windows is, and it sets it for you. And I was like, that's pretty sweet. And it even gives you a batch file you could just run to set all these services. Now, obviously, I didn't do that. I used like C# for mine. But that's a really cool tool. Windows AFG is kind of an amazing answer file generator. It's used mainly for people building lots of systems or maybe deploying a bunch of systems in like a business. But I love this, WindowsAFG.com. I highly recommend them. That is cool. So yeah, services are pretty light. Nothing too bad. And then start. What do we have under start? The configuration. This is just YAML. It's using a Playbook. Ansible, I think, is the one that really created Playbooks. I don't know if they're actually using Ansible. After looking at all the modifications they're making, there's no way I'd use it for my own systems, but I don't see anything necessarily wrong with this. But yeah, I think it would give you a really clean, absolute minimal. I think it's a good Windows AME. I think it's really ameliorated Windows from back in the day. It's an evolved project, and it really is meant for those that want an absolute minimal Windows experience with no Microsoft, no Microsoft Store, no games from the store, no Microsoft sign-in, those types of things. That's really, after looking through this, I'd probably give it my sign-off. I really would. It looks pretty damn good. There's just a couple little settings that I'm like, I probably would change that. It's just, would I recommend a gamer use this? No. It takes a special individual to use this thing. It's not something I would use, nor would I tell people to use. It's just, if you want an absolute bare Windows box to maybe throw one program on that only does like one or two things, I think AtlasOS would be okay for that with this type of setup with this Playbook. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting. What do you all think? What are your all's impressions of AtlasOS looking at all this? I'm curious. What do you guys say? Yeah, I think a lot of people are just asking for Atlas feedback, and I'd say, you know, AtlasOS I think is an evolution of Windows AME from you know, a year or two back, where it just deletes everything and it gives you the absolute bare minimum for a Windows environment, and I think it does a pretty good job of that. But I don't think many people will stay on it because they're going to want the store. They're going to want to use their Microsoft sign-in. They're going to want to use Microsoft Office. They're going to want to use a lot of these things, because for me, when I'm in Windows, I'm going to need like Visual Studio Community or something that's a Microsoft product that requires a Microsoft sign-in, and I can't use that with AtlasOS. And if I'm not, and I don't need those things, well, what the hell am I using Windows for? Why wouldn't I use Linux? That type of thing. So that's my feedback on AtlasOS. I think for those diehard Windows users that really want as minimal Windows setup as possible, AtlasOS is okay for you. Just know what you're getting into. You know, you're not going to get, you know, probably the updates might be working. I don't know if they work that out. We could install it in like a VM just to check it out. The minimal nature of it's just going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of folks. So, and that's okay. Like I said, it's really, the goal of it is not to be, hey, everyone should use this. Like, I think Tiny11 kind of touted itself as, hey, a one-stop shop. It just deep loads everything, but it was kind of done in a really shady way to where I'm like, I guess you could use this. If you're going to use Tiny11, use the builder. I still didn't agree with a lot of the tweaks, and it still seemed a bit half-baked to me, to where it still had like 90 processes running, so it really wasn't a deep bloated Windows. I mean, it was better, but it was not fantastic. And Atlas seems like a really debloated version, so it's going to the extreme, where I think you probably would be 40 processes with Atlas. Probably, I would imagine something in that realm, because of how well it is debloated. But that's just my 2 cents. Yeah, and also, like, if you have, like, let's say for, I don't know, for business I'd use this because there's no antivirus or anything, but for like a kiosk or something that relies on Windows, that would be a decent alternative too, because you could load it up on pretty much anything, and you wouldn't want it updating. You wouldn't want a lot of those Windows features. But as a day-to-day desktop for a Windows user, no. I mean, I just see too many things that could be a little bit too problematic. But Peter, you would be shocked how much of the world runs on Windows in those damn kiosks. Every time I walk by one, and I'm like, Windows updated. It's just like sitting like flipped up on like a wrong orientation, waiting to be logged in. I'm like, bless, why would you use Windows for a kiosk? But yet people still do it. And if you have, like, the only thing I can imagine for that, Peter, is the programmer that they hired did it in a Windows program, like they programmed like C# or something, and that's not going to run on Linux for whatever reason. And this would be a good alternative for that, so you don't have to worry about it just updating and breaking it. I've also seen it in like a lot of high rises, like in Dallas. Whenever I visit like certain high rises and you go to the directory, a lot of times those would run on Windows, I've noticed. And I think it's just a lot of the programmers are used to Windows and they program in it to where they need it. And I'm like, oh. So there's definitely use cases for it, by all means. Yeah, Mono does work better for that, for sure. I'm in a Target right now and it uses Linux for their kiosks. Nice, Ralph. Target seems always the best. Go to Walmart, I bet it's Windows. Oh, man. So good. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, let's shut it down for today. We've been going a little bit over 4 hours.